One of the big trends in connected mobility is driving assistance or even driverless cars. We've heard a lot about it today. We heard some about it yesterday. But before a driverless car can move even a tiny inch, years and years and years of research go into the technology that makes that happen. And that has sparked an entire ecosystem of innovative players. And up next, we're going to learn which technologies are gaining speed and discuss the role of collaboration among old players and, you guessed it, young new startups. So I believe we can introduce our panel now, the role of big data analytics in connected mobility. Our moderator is Arnab Chakrabarty of Accenture. Welcome, Arnab. I'll let you introduce the panel.
Okay, good afternoon. Hope everyone having a great time today. My name is Arnab Chakrabarty. I lead our analytics business for Accenture in the DACH region. It's fantastic, yeah, it's fantastic. I think the video just played it, yeah. We are living in really interesting times, yeah. And I think the theme has been today with all the digital disruption. I think the automotive industry is going to see a major change, and that's what we are going to talk about today. In terms of what are the new business model opportunities, what's really the future that we see when it comes to driverless cars, what kind of new opportunities that we see with technology, and more importantly, what's the future with the startup ecosystem, which is what Coden is all about. So I'm very pleased to be with all of you here today, and very privileged to have a very distinguished panel amongst all of us here. Take the opportunity of quickly introducing our distinguished panelists here. We have Anita Kuert from Daimler. She has about 20 years of experience and working on very interesting projects that we'll get to know today on the Mercedes-Benz truck area. I've got Wolfgang Beek on my extreme end here. He's the Chief Technology Officer for Software AG in the DACH region, again with 20+ years of experience. Really very passionate about the topic, and you will hear a lot more from him today. I have Dr. Mikhail Raschke. He's the co-founder of BlickShift, and you have a great setup here. People who haven't gone to see what he does, please go and take a look. Really cool stuff, and we will hear a lot about what he's doing today in this space. So with that, we will delve into the topic, and I will start with you, Anita. Okay, I think you told me about some really pioneering work you were doing, in launching new services in the truck business, guaranteeing as a service, 100% uptime. What's your view, with your experience, the future role of mobility, and more importantly, the role of analytics, in empowering that?
So it's working. The future role, we have three major aspects. I'm working for commercial vehicles, and there it's mainly about really getting the money. So it's what we are focusing on is autonomous driving, connectivity, and less emissions. With regard, what has this to do with regard to real-time data analytics? Obviously, autonomous driving, there is a lot of real-time analytics happening in the car directly. But of course, also a lot of data analytics happening outside of the car, because we have just to get some insights, what is the obstacle, which we learned just before. And, oh, so it's confusing. Sorry for that. And, but my major topic is connectivity. I'm working for the Uptime project, which we will launch tomorrow, which will be sold from next week on. And this is about connectivity. We are getting data from the vehicle to identify from the different control units to identify the health status of the truck. And this is very important because this enables us with a huge, this offers us huge possibilities. We are getting the data, and just imagine we are, for example, we are able to identify whether a part will be broken soon. We can drive, oh, let's go, there has to be a service bundled. We inform the fleet manager, and he can make a shorter stop. The truck is much more reliable, and especially if it's in a short notice topic, perhaps it's a critical part, we can even inform the fleet manager and the driver to make a stop directly at a workshop visit to plan it into his route. And for this reason, he gets much, much more reliability, a much better servicing, and of course, the effectiveness, the efficiency of the car is much better.
That's great. That's fantastic. And all the best with your launch from tomorrow. Yeah, you're going to be really, really busy. So I think taking a cue from Anita and turning it back to you, Mikhail, I remember you did an interview with Accenture where you talked about the role of algorithms, and you have developed a great solution around the whole eye tracking area. But I remember you said that it's the algorithms that is going to make the difference. Otherwise it's a commodity. So give us a little bit of your view around the role of algorithm, and we talk a lot about algorithm economy and the technology evolution around that. What's going to be the role of that? The technologies and the algorithms that we're talking about in shaping the future of mobility.
Yes, sure. We are a scientific startup, and I'm coming from the Institute for Visualization and Interactive Systems at the University of Stuttgart. And we are experts in data analysis in a special field there in big data analytics called visual analytics. And what Anita told is really great, a really great thing to predict the health state of the car. But before I can do that reliable, then I have to analyze the data and find the patterns which shows me that the car has a problem. And either I have a hypothesis and say, I'm looking for this pattern, or I can the other way around and say, okay, let's take all the data, all the channels, CAN bus data, connected car data, sensor, whatever, and I analyze that and look into the data and find correlations between the different data streams. And if you look into the internet for visual analytics, this is a really great technique to do that. It's a combination of pattern recognition and visualizations. And this combines both the possibilities of the computers and the human beings. And just a few words about our startup. The big challenge of a startup is not to do everything. We are data scientists, of course, but we looked into the market and we wanted to find a segment where we can really make a contribution. And we found out in all this topic of autonomous driving, the car companies, the suppliers, and so they come from the technique. So they look from the motor, from the switches, and so on. We go the other way around and say we put the driver into the center, and we want to understand how the driver recognizes the traffic. And there, new data streams come into play, and this is eye tracking. And we are combining eye tracking together, all with the data streams from the truck, from the cars, together with visual analytics to build models of the drivers to predict, how would he react? How can the car assist him? This is, I think, a very important question during the realization of automatic driving.
Fantastic, fantastic. Keeping the driver at the center and using the data scientists to create those immersive models. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's the secret sauce. But taking that forward, Wolfgang, from your standpoint, we are talking about great ideas. We're talking about great algorithms that the data scientists are bringing together. But then you need to actually bring it to scale, for enterprise-level adoption. From your standpoint, how do you see that, and what's happening with the technology platforms, that helps us to do that within organizations?
Yeah, sure. As you quite rightly said, we're also here in exciting times. So, talking from a perspective of a living dinosaur, yeah, we are really much the opposite end of our speaker before. We're the oldest software company in Germany. So we have some reputation in place to be able to build here reliable enterprise scale applications. And what's currently happening and where our clients are engaging with us is very simple. These great ideas, created here on the right-hand side, or of course the business models you're going to bring to life now quite recently, they need the ability to be connected on the one hand side. So we bridge between the new technologies, the new data sources, and the old systems, the old business processes, because clients are now at the edge to make up their minds how, with these good ideas, with these technologies, they can now really do business. And in order to be able to make business, you need to be able to connect it to your business processes, to your existing legacy applications, to execute and offer to your clients. And that's where we play our role. So we are here in the middle. We are orchestrating between new ideas and new business models from existing clients, and we enable here with our technology platform these things. And talking about analytics, our main goal is to take the analytical models and put them into production, apply them against the data in real time, and make out of that this new opportunity for our clients. That's where we are playing at the moment. And it's really, really interesting and fascinating.
So Wolfgang, maybe a follow-up to you, as you talked about some of these interesting things that your company is doing, any specific use case that is going in production you can share with our audience?
Yeah, sure. So one use case is, I'm not sure if you know that, so driver-dependent insurance policies. I know that's not a very, let's say, attractive topic here in Germany, but there are markets out there like Italy and UK where this is now currently really growing. So Octo Telematics in Italy is such a provider, is market leading, I think, in Italy as well as in Europe. They have 8 million cars under supervision, and on our platform, the data is not only collected, it's being processed, and from the data, you make now your business models. So Octo Telematics is really built upon the digital assets with this data. So they're selling analytics of driving behavior to the insurance companies, but that's not all. They're selling driving information to the actual driver. They are able to predict here on weather conditions because the cars can collect the data as well. And there are all sorts of digital asset-based services they're now going to create, and that's in production. And they selected us because they started off with some open source stuff, but they recognized it's not stable and scalable enough, and then they switched to our technology. Just one example.
That's great. I remember the movie that came out long back, Minority Report, and I think what you're showing is kind of the art of the possible. But taking that forward now back to reality, because you're the one who is living the reality, I think we are talking about some great ideas, great potential. It's really, really very positive. But as you are, Anita, working on a lot of the big data and analytics and bringing new products and services powered by that, what are the real challenges that are being faced, and how you're managing those?
Actually, we have, of course, a lot of ideas and great ideas which will work in future, but in fact, we have still some struggles which we have to solve. In Daimler, we have, in the meantime, a good big data environment, Hadoop platform, and so on, but what is still missing is the data on it. So we have the situation that we have really to collect the huge amount of data from the different test in vehicles and so on to ensure that it's coming on a regular basis into the data lake, and to ensure that we really can benefit and profit very, very fast from this. Of course, we have a lot of analytic data, don't get us wrong. Sure. But anyhow, just think of uptime of the connectivity. There is still a huge bundle which we can receive from the different vehicles, which we can also receive from the production itself. And if you think of a use case where you have, for example, you want to derive which are you want to avoid workshop visits, which are taking a long time. You have to collect a lot of data. You have to have the workshop visits. You have to have the vehicle information. You have to have the part list of the specific vehicle. Perhaps you have to have weather conditions or environmental conditions. When this error occurs, to derive really, okay, there is a pattern. And for this reason, we really focus currently on to get this data up in the data lake. And if you ask me about new solutions and new services, there we really have a team focusing on especially this topic, which is focusing what can we provide as a service, what would make sense, perhaps we need additional data, and there we are working together with, of course, large experienced companies as well as with startups.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I think that's the key that you mentioned. You will always face challenges when you get into these kind of new areas. And these are not, problems that we have not solved so far. And as Daimler, you're so big, but you said you're working with startups. And I think that's what it makes so real, yeah, because that's where a lot of the great ideas can come, which can power, a big corporate like Daimler to get into new areas. Maybe taking that to you then, Michael, yeah, coming back to you, being at Codan, having started your journey, what's the role you see for startups, in driving these kind of innovations, especially in the whole autonomous driving area? What's the role, what's the future, what's your perspective?
Yeah, we're working on our startup now for, I think, 2 years. We started really with a business canvas, and we had so many ideas, because if you look into the research at the university, there are so many cool and efficient solutions for data analytics. And the process there, our journey, was to come from all these ideas to one cool solution where we were really sure that there's a market. And on this way, there are all the exciting challenges of a startup. And this is the completely opposite view of working, of life, of how you're challenging yourself and pushing your ideas. Imagine you have, there's nothing, there's a green area, how's it, Wiese, a green field, and you're building a building on this green field, and you're defining how it will look like. You're talking to the big companies, of course, networking is very important, talking to everybody, have a public presentation of your ideas, and then socializing, networking. Codan, we are one of the residents at Codan in Stuttgart, and the space is one of the 4 first residents there. We went out from the university, from the Tower of Science into the real world. This is very important. We are a member of the startup Autobahn of Daimler here in Stuttgart, of the Arena 2036. This is very important to find out what are the I don't want to say problems. What are the challenges of the big companies? Where can we fit in? We have the freedom to do so many things. We don't have all the processes over this. But on the other side, then this is perhaps a problem. The startups don't have so many experiences. So we only have 2 years of market experience, and we know only 2 years what you really need. And this is the other side of the coin.
Sure. No, it's a great symbiotic, partnership. Yeah, you have great ideas. You need ways to market that, to the big companies, and big companies are looking for those ideas. So it's a great symbiotic relationship. What do you think, Wolfgang, if you listen to all of this conversation, and you being one of the German software companies, what do you think the role of German software companies in this space, as we look into the future to make autonomous driving really a reality at scale? What do you think the role will be for the German software companies?
Well, I maybe have to cite here my CEO, Mr. Karl-Heinz Streibich, and he's very outspoken on that. Yeah, the role must be that these startups and software companies in Germany, they must be the driver of digital transformation, because there is no other chance for Germany to survive and growth and be here successful than this. And it's funny. I mean, maybe Daimler is the exception to the rule, yeah? But my CEO has a new hobby. He's calling his fellow CEOs in Germany, and he asks one simple question. What is your strategy? What is your idea on digital transformation? What are you going to do about it? And do you know what the funny thing is? In 95% of the cases, they have no clue, no idea. And I think the role of German software companies, not only Software AG, of all German software companies must be to bridge here between the innovative things coming up here from the startups, from technology-driven, and marry that with what are the new business opportunities you have as a company, and all of these are going to be software-based. And this is going to be the thing we need to achieve, and I think that's going to be the role.
Fantastic, fantastic. Very well said, Wolfgang. And it's all about you. It's all about people here, who is going to make it happen. And it's going to happen in Germany. It's going to be the collaboration, between the startups and the big companies and the software companies. And again, it's people in this room who are going to make it happen. So thanks a lot for all of your time today. I can see that we are almost over on the time. And many thanks to our esteemed panelists for being with us today and sharing your wealth of knowledge. And the team will be here. So very happy for sideline conversations as well. Thank you.